Welcome to the first episode of our brand new news show, the C3 broadcast. Each time you choose to spend your time watching the C3 broadcast, do know that you are working with God to create a circumstance where you can make infinite money by tapping in to the root of the CymaTree. And do know that each time you tap into the root of the CymaTree, you are tuning in to the mind of Mercury. Now, you may be asking the question, who is Mercury? Well, when you look at the global calendar that is used as sacrifice of Jesus to reset our entire idea of time across planet Earth, you're going to see that Wednesday is named after Woden. It's Woden's day because Wednesday is Mercury Day. The religions that run the world are actively weaponizing not just Woden, but every past life of Mercury to make money, building a matrix that teaches you, me, and everybody that we only live once. Now, if you don't believe me, just take a look at the John Adams Library, which the religions that run the world have built in Washington, D.C. as the largest library in their New World Covenant, in their New World Government, in their New World Order. The John Adams Library is proof that the Masons who run the world are actively weaponizing all the past lives of Metatron so that they can use God's Spider-Man to hold their matrix together. And then by holding their matrix together, they turn all the past lives of Metatron into the teachings of Jehovah. And now Jehovah can use all the past lives of Mercury to teach all of us as children that we only live once. And this is how we get put in the vibration of slavery. So now because we're scared of dying, we feel like we need to serve the system that taught us to be scared of death. And this is where we know that the system we're serving is satanic. And Satan is the same exact letters as Santa for the same reason that this system is using all the past lives of Metatron to teach us that we only live once. We are forced as slaves to the system of the Matrix to worship Satan based out of the lies that put us in a state of fear. So I am, hand over heart, swear to God, swear to everybody in the entire universe, every single infinite individual before this moment and after this moment, I swear to God, hand over my heart, that I am telling the truth about why the religions that have used their banking system to steal all of Native America from the First Nations are very intentionally weaponizing all of Metatron's past lives to make money for themselves. The religions who have used their banking system to steal Native America from the First Nations are very intentionally weaponizing all the past lives of Mercury to build the John Adams Library, because the Masons who run the Matrix know for a fact that they are only able to make money because every single messenger of Mercury is an aspect of the one space, the one God that supports every spirit in the metaverse. So now we can see that the metaverse is named after this God that uses his soul to support spirits who would have never supported him. And this is where the Jews created their entire concept of Spider-Man from. So the Jews created Spider-Man as a concept by taking all of Metatron's past lives and creating a character that teaches all of us that we need to use our Mercury to hold the Matrix together. So because every messenger of Mercury is one small aspect of the singular spirit, the singular God that holds the entire Atlantean metaverse together, Jews and Masons worship him as Archangel Metatron, the manifester of the metaverse, the manager of Mercury. So when we look at the John Adams Library, we can explicitly see that the Masons are telling us they are weaponizing all the wisdom that they stole from Woden, from Hermes, from Cadmus, from Agma, from Brahma, from Tahuti, from Quetzalcoatl, from Izamna, from Tamarath, from Nabu, from Kanji, and from Sequoia. These are all past lives of Metatron that the Masons are actively using the knowledge, using the true wisdom of, so that they can make money teaching us that we only live once. So the Masons are using all those past aspects of Metatron so that Jehovah, jealous Jehovah, can make sure that Jewish Jesus is seen as the true Son of God for using all the past lives of Metatron to teach us why we only live once. So if you're someone who has learned that you only live once because Jesus died for your sins, do know that the Masons who made the Matrix have only been able to teach you that Jesus is the only child of God who lived once because they've stolen all these past messengers of Mercury, all the past lives of Metatron as the Atlantean Spider-Man to hold their Matrix together. And this is how they use the fear of death to teach you and me that we need to support a system that does not support us. So we can objectively see with the John Adams Library that the Masons are weaponizing the vibration of freedom. We see that Metatron has the freedom to live many lives so that they can teach us why slavery is God's plan. And this has been my entire life. I know this is most people's lives, where we've been taught that God needs us to worship him because we are all slaves to his desires. And then we've been taught that God is one man named Jealous Jehovah, or Elkanah, controlling everybody unbeknownst to them. And this is how Masons are using money to manipulate all of our emotions. So the more we worship and focus on making money and serving the system that's teaching us that one God uses money to manipulate all of us, then we become slaves, and it's predictive programming. We are now actually going to create the program that we see in the Bible because we believe in the word of the Bible. So we're going to use our currency to make everything in the Bible true. And this is how we use our minds to make all things true. Me being taught that my name is Chase, I had to use my own mind to actually believe that I am Chase. So this is how the word works. And now we can see that the Bible is lying when it says in the beginning was the word, because all of Metatron's past lives show us that God is actually bigger than one language. So if you've been taught, like me, that Jehovah created Jesus to die for your sins because you would be burning in hell otherwise, and now your mission is to serve him for one life, then do know the real news is that Masons are very actively weaponizing all the black truths of Metatron to sell the white lies of Elkanah. The real news is that Masons are actively weaponizing not just these 12 aspects of Metatron, but so many more past lives of Metatron to make God's Spider-Man, Mercury, hold jealous Jehovah's Matrix together. These fun facts that I'm sharing with you now at the expense of myself give you the awareness to see clearly that the Masons who run the Matrix are openly using the John Adams Library to say that they're weaponizing these 12 aspects of Metatron and really way more past lives of Metatron to make sure that they can make their money matter. And they can only make money matter based on how they weaponize all the math, materials, and metaphysic mentalities they stole from the Atlantean Spider-Man to teach all of us that we need to look up to their idea of Spider-Man. And their idea of Spider-Man is literally using all the past lives of Mercury to make sure that we believe we only live once. And then that's where they lock our awareness in the Matrix, and now they can force us to do what they want us to do because we're in a state of fear and we feel like they're smarter than us due to us not being tapped into the intelligence of our past lives. So the one true God, Elkanah, jealous Jehovah, sees Metatron's many past lives, all of Metatron's mentalities, as him being the spiritual Spider-Man, because Elkanah knows that Metatron is the space that uses his cosmic chi conductor, the caduceus of Hermes Trismegistus, to hold everybody in the metaverse together. And when Metatron uses his caduceus to hold everybody in the metaverse together, that's Mercury using his caduceus to hold every universe in the tree of life together. And the tree of life is much bigger than how Judaism and Christianity has taught us it. But this is Metatron bringing the wisdom of CymaTree into a universe in his metaverse, teaching the Jews about the tree of life, Kabbalah, all the ways in which the realms are connected. And overall, this is us being able to see that we are connected. And that is why Jealous Jehovah put every god on the John Adams library there intentionally, because every single god on the John Adams library is simply one small, limited aspect of Metatron's infinitely individual spiritual space. Now, all of this real news and all of these fun facts become much more concrete when you look at the John Adams library, and you can see that Hermes, Woden, Quetzalcoatl, Itzamna, Cadmus, Agma, and Tahuti are all documented by their respective ancient cultures as wielders of Metatron's caduceus. This is not a coincidence. It's actually very intentional. Every god that Masons have immortalized on the John Adams library is simply one small angel, one limited angle of the god that Elkanah, jealous Jehovah, is jealous of. And this is why all the gods, almost all of them, right? Not Sequoia, but all the gods on the John Adams library predate the concept of one god. They are all predating jealous Jehovah. They all predate Elkanah by centillions of eons. We're just dealing with the whitewashing of this jealous god wanting to take credit for all the gods that came before him. So now he's going to whitewash history. So this is where we get the entire concept of using the truth to sell a lie. And this is how white supremacy has used the truth of the indigenous cultures. They're erasing to appear like the right men of God, the right people, the white people. So now they can never be wrong, and they can do whatever they want, and we're responsible. So that's slavery. And this is how the racist religions that have stolen everything from Spider-Man have taught white people that they have the power and black people have the responsibility. So as someone who was forced to identify as black because white people want to be powerful, that's why they taught me I'm responsible to uphold their power. And now we have all the aspects of Metatron, all those aspects of Spider-Man holding the Matrix together, even though they want to shoot me, they want to kill me. They constantly want to silence Spider-Man as they make money off of him. So this is how white people view black people. And black people were not black until Europeans wanted to call themselves white, and now they erase all indigenous individuality with this term, be-lack. Literally. So the colonial colonizers, literally, who stole this land, they call us be-lack because they want us to be lack. And then they call us niggard because they believe that we are stingy. That's why when you look up the word niggard or niggardly, you're going to see that niggard comes from a very real word. It's not just a slur. It has an actual meaning in English. To the Jew, being a niggard means that you're stingy. So when they teach the Christians to call indigenous peoples niggard, that's literally them, the religions that run the world, expressing that they feel like we're stingy because we have everything they want. And that's why they worship a jealous God, objectively. So now the jealous God is using everything that it stole from the past gods of Mercury to teach all of us that our job is to serve him. These are real facts. These are just straight truths. These are fun facts. They might not be super fun, but the point is, when I share these facts, we can start having fun because we're fundamentally raising our vibration. So everything I'm sharing here is explicitly why. This is explicitly why the Masons who run Facebook have, after getting exposed for being entirely evil and perverse with our private information, just like the Christians putting on KKK costumes so they can keep doing what they're doing while appearing like they're not doing it, Facebook has changed its name to Meta. So now they're harnessing everything they stole from Metatron to act like they're here to support us, when in reality, they're here to suppress us and silence us and enslave us on the Matrix. Duh. So when Facebook changes its name to Metaverse, we are explicitly, as a people, watching the Masons perform a KKK ritual, where the Masons believe that they can absolve themselves of all the sins and all the evil things they did to build their empire if they cannibalize indigenous creations and treat our culture like a costume that they can wear to appear like good men. This is why you can see that Hermes, Thoth, and all aspects of Kukulkan are literally all one spirit. This is all one space. And the Masons who run Hollywood, the KKK Christians who run Hollywood, know that for a fact. Wakanda forever. So when you see that the KKK who run Hollywood are using Wakanda forever to depict Kukulkan as having Hermes's winged feet, then you can objectively see that the Masons who made the John Adams Library know for an absolute fact that they are weaponizing the past truths of Metatron's many lives to sell us the future lie of Jehovah, where we all believe that we only live once. And they're objectively weaponizing the fact that Quetzalcoatl and Hermes are the same space to teach us that we don't even have our own space. Literally. So when we see that the first movie Masons used to manifest the destiny of America and create Hollywood to take over the globe is Birth of a Nation, aka The Klansman, we can see that I am literally just sharing real news. I'm actually telling you the truth about the reality that we are all in and the way in which these religions, the way in which these businesses have been able to build their corporations off of stealing resources from indigenous peoples. And they say it in Wakanda Forever. They say it in Birth of a Nation. So they use the truth to sell us lies, and they tell us what they're doing, but because they take all the truth and turn it into entertainment, now people don't actually know what they're watching. People don't actually know what these movies mean or how these movies are all connected by one studio or one religion or one intention, one spirit, using all the past lives of Metatron to teach the entire world why Jesus died for us to only live once. When you tune into the C3B, you gain access to knowledge and wisdom that is infinitely more valuable than any mathematical figure Masons could manipulate your emotions with. So I am simply telling you the truth behind why the Masons, who use math to make money, manipulating all of our emotions, can only do so as long as they're weaponizing all the material they stole from Metatron's metaverse to trap us in Jehovah's matrix. I'm simply telling you the truth behind why Masons are using all the gods of Mercury to teach you and me that we were created by one God to serve their money, to serve their matrix, to serve their very many desires. Masons use all the past lives of Mercury to teach us that we need to serve them before we get judged by all of our creator, jealous Jehovah. And now we've all been taught that we were created by a jealous spirit who needs us to worship it. And that's supposed to be our entire lives. Because all the gods that don't want to be worshipped have had their wisdom stolen so that Jehovah can be worshipped. And that's why you're not going to see Jesus on the John Adams library. You're going to see Sequoia, you're going to see Quetzalcoatl, you'll see Itzamna, because the Masons are saying they stole all their knowledge about Jesus from these individuals. And now they can teach you what it means to be Jesus. And that's what we've been going through. So this is how Masons use Mercury to enslave our souls in the matrix they stole from Metatron's metaverse, objectively. So when you see that Woden is one of the many Mercury gods that Masons have weaponized to sell the largest library in the world and hold the matrix together, and then you also see that Woden uses Woden's Day as Mercury Day to always be in the middle of the week, holding every day together, holding the entire calendar system together, then you can begin to understand, you can start to see why the Masons who run the matrix, why the religions who run the world have actively weaponized the spiritual truths of the indigenous god Quetzalcoatl and twisted them into the physical fiction of the Jewish superhero Spider-Man, aka Poor Peter Parker. Now, here's what makes Spider-Man even more meta for me, for Mercury, for me, Tatron, for the big ME. I have fasted over 300 days, easily over 300 days since I started in college, which means that I have physically, mentally, and spiritually, but let's just leave it at I have physically walked the walk of Jesus deeper, harder, and stronger than all the religiously racist men who make their money spreading the support of his systemic sacrifice. So as religious men make all their money profiting off of the sacrifice of Jesus, I have been sacrificing myself to God way more than Jesus ever did so that I could be here communicating the way that I am right now. So as I have fasted over and over and over and over and over in a psychedelic cycle, constantly sacrificing myself to God so that I can talk to God directly, I have been able to attain wisdom and knowledge that no man, mason, doctor, or human would have ever told me in any way, shape, or form. Because I have sacrificed myself way more than Jesus, God has burdened my soul with the truth in a way that no one else can see, but now it's my mission to take responsibility for my power and create connections that support spirits who do not support me. I have fasted 24 days straight, I fasted 19 days straight, 17 days straight, I fasted 10 days straight many times, 11 days straight many times, 5 days straight very many times, and I have fasted 1 to 3 days so much from this span of 2018 to 2023. So God has forced me to see that I have objectively put in way more work fasting to talk to God than Jesus did. So all the people who make money saying that Jesus fasted so I don't have to, they are actually the reason why I was summoned here. Because the whole issue with humans worshiping Jesus is that they worship killing him and they worship using his energy to get trapped in the matrix. And now humans don't want to fast to talk to God themselves. They want to worship the idea of killing people who fast to talk to God. And then that's what I've been going through as Spider-Man, where it's not a coincidence Spider-Man holds the system together while the system tries to kill him. This is actually Jesus rituals that Masons have weaponized all the past lives of Mercury to create. So God has shown me that Mercury created all forms of what it means to be Jesus and Spider-Man before Masons have colonized these concepts and made money off of them for themselves. So because I have walked the path of Jesus way harder, really infinitely harder than any Mason who is using Mercury's math to make money, teaching me that I need to worship his sacrifice so I can be happy with a bunch of people that I've never met, I am forced to explicitly see in my personal relationship with God that Christianity is rooted in crucifying. Specifically, the success of Christianity is rooted in crucifying, and it's right there. So it's not a coincidence that Christians would rather kill someone who fasts instead of do it themselves. This is predictive programming. Now, as a true child of God, as the actual space known as Enoch, the Metatron star, I don't want my Jesus walk to end like his did. I don't want to fast to talk to God just so I can get killed supporting a system that does not support me. I did not fast for all these years healing my body, working on my personal relationship with spirit, just so culture vultures can cannibalize my flesh while teaching me that I'm a black sinner that they need to enslave with their idea of God. God told me that that is fake news. For over 20 years of my life, the judges of justice have used colonial Christianity to teach me, an indigenous man, who I know that I've lived more than once, why I need to serve them based on how they're telling me that I only live once. And now, no matter how much I know I've lived more than once, in the eyes of the and Christians who are using religion to erase my connection with this land, I've only lived once. And in their eyes, I'm a black slave to jealous Jehovah, to their God. And this is why the KKK feels justified doing whatever it takes to spread Hollywood, to spread their New World Order, because this is their mind state and this is how they taught me. This is why I'm circumcised through Abraham's covenant against my consent, because I have been indoctrinated into Judaism through Christianity. And this is what it means for all of us to be slaves to a Semitic system. If you are a man and you have been circumcised, then you are a slave to Semitism, which means that you are in the eye of Jehovah, because the whole point of being a Jew is that you are serving the one true God. So if you are circumcised, you cannot be anti-Semitic because you've already sacrificed your flesh to the Semitic system that taught you you're a slave to the one true God. Somehow, they're still racist and they still want to cut me down because I'm saying the truth, but this is the actual truth behind why children are circumcised against their consent. And this is the actual truth behind why the same religion that teaches us God created us perfectly also feels like God gave them the authority to mutilate all of our penises. Even though all my past lives have had foreskins, because the same system that taught me I only live once believes that I need to get circumcised to serve their God, now they did it. And that's the point of Masons serving El Kanah. That's the point of the Ews, the big J's, controlling all the Christians that are using the KKK to cannibalize and eradicate all the indigenous that were living in America first. So I'm just literally talking about the basic history behind why slavery was justified through the legal system, and why the legal system has built all of its money off of sex trafficking that it enslaved through its religions. This is just the basic history of America. So after fasting well over 300 days since I started in college, I'm forced to trust my personal relationship with God over my relationship with the government, because the government has used its words to teach me that it is God. And that's why I've been circumcised to the covenant, to Abraham's covenant. That's Abraham's government. So when you see Brahma on the John Adams library, that's the Abrahamic God explicitly showing all of us that he wouldn't even be named Abraham if he did not steal all of his truth from Brahma to sell the lies of Jehovah. So now Jehovah can be Abraham. All because Brahma provided the platform to support spirits who do not support him. So all of this fasting, all of this sacrificing, all of this spiritual struggle that I've put myself through has made God show me. It has created the circumstance where God has made me aware of how all my past lives are connected by one soul. And now I know what it even means to have a soul, and I can talk to you about the truth behind reality like I am right now. God has shown me that all of my past lives are connected by one space. And as that space, with my name now being Chase, I alone am forced to take responsibility for the power that my past lives has. And this is where now I have to create connections that no one else would create based on me having my own mind, my own Spider-Man power. So by creating this C3 broadcast, I am taking Metatron's Hermetic teachings seriously. So although I cannot financially afford to buy food, pay my bills, or get out of the insane amounts of debt that I am stuck in, after fasting with God for very many years, I am choosing to sacrifice myself on my CymaTree so that I can teach the entire universe the true indigenous wisdom behind all of our human history, health, and heaven. Every human cares about history to some degree. Every human cares about health to some degree. And God has shown me every human cares about heaven. So this is true Hermeticism, and this is what I am focused on expanding upon. The C3 broadcast is me, Chase the Space, taking responsibility for the power that only I have. Because I alone, Chase the Space, have the power to see how everything in the universe, everything in the Atlantean metaverse, is connected by my spirit, then this is where I alone have the responsibility to share the real news and the trippy truths behind the facts of indigenous history, indigenous health, indigenous heaven. If after fasting so much for all these years, God is going to force me to see that my solo soul alone has to fly solo to create connections that no one else would be able to create, then I can see that the power of Sonic is to go fast. That's you being an infinite individual using your mind to fly off into spaces that no one else would be able to go to. And then your Spider-Man power is you weaving the webs that allow spirits to relate with a space that didn't even exist before. And this is how this reality was built, by Woden's web. Woden uses his mind to weave webs to support spirits that do not support him. And this is literally Woden's day, Spider-Man day, being Mercury day, right there in the middle of the week, holding the entire calendar system together. So everything in reality is connected by real facts. There are real facts. There's fake news and there's real facts. So the real fact is you have lived before and you will live again. If there's any news station out here telling you otherwise, they're spreading fake news. They're not telling you real facts. They're not telling you the real fact behind why you're even conscious right now. They're telling you fake news so that they can use all the trippy truths of Metatron to manipulate you with Jehovah's lies. And this is how Masons make money, manipulating all of our emotions with math. But you have to go to chaseyourgenes.com to actually even learn what the symbols of these mathematics even mean. So it's clear that the Masons who run the Matrix literally want you to be a slave to math, and they don't even want you to be knowledgeable on what math means. Metatron does not want that for you. That's why I have created everything that I've created at the expense of myself to support you and your freedom. So know this, each time you tune in to the C3 broadcast, I am using CymaTree to remind you of your spiritual Spider-Man powers. Each time you tune in to the C3 broadcast, you are witnessing me use my creation of CymaTree to show you, to remind you about the powerful responsibility that your Spider-Man solar system has. And your Spider-Man solar system is your soul's ability to build bodies that can relate with everybody. So literally, the only reason you're actually able to listen to what I'm saying right now is because you have already used your Spider-Man solar system to create connections that no one had seen before. No one else in reality had seen your body before your soul weaved the genetics of your dad and your mom in the womb to create this costume that you are consciously manipulating. So now you can see how Quetzalcoatl thinks. You can see that your soul is a Spider-Man essence of your spirit that actually holds your entire body together. And now you can see how Spider-Man is the concept of you using your vibration to connect with God in a way that no one else would have even imagined for you. So now you can prove to yourself that God did create you to be an infinite individual. So I, as CymaTree, am reminding you, an infinite individual, that you alone are responsible for your power. I firmly believe that if you have the power to do what it takes to connect with God directly so you can be happy alone in your own heaven, in your own space, then it is your responsibility to create the connections that would allow you to do that. It's clear that I would not be here saying any of this if I had waited for people to fast for me. Literally, if I waited for people to fast, I would not be doing anything here. I would not be creating CymaTree. I would not be creating the C3 broadcast. You would not know about Always Ascending Academy. And overall, I just wouldn't be happy because I wouldn't actually be living my purpose. I would not be in vibrational alignment with the plans that God has for me. That's why I started fasting in 2018. Jesus explicitly says and shows in the Bible that he had to fast for 40 days to commune with the Heavenly Father that's controlling all of us beyond our comprehension. So I wanted to do the same. I also wanted to talk to the man that's controlling all of us beyond our comprehension. That's the only way I would be able to get the truth, because I was taught that only God has the truth. So now if I want the truth, I have to fast for myself and put myself in the vibration where I can listen to God's space. That has nothing to do with words. So if the Bible is saying in the beginning was the word, and I can fast to see that in the beginning was space, and then the space has to vibe enough to even feel like it should create words to communicate about its own idea of God, and then God is showing me that I have all these past lives that speak way more languages than one, then I'm forced to see that God is explicitly larger than one name. Metatron knows that for a fact. The Masons who stole all the names of Metatron to sell us on God being one name knows this for an absolute fact. So it turns out that my personal relationship with God is infinitely deeper than living one life and being a slave to one system. So although I want to kill myself because my bank account is literally in the negatives right now and I'm not seeing a way out, I'm just getting deeper in poverty and I'm just becoming a deeper slave to the system that is making sure I can't afford to live in my own land while it lies to me about my own history. God has shown me that he called the spiritual Spider-Man away from Mercury because CymaTree is the only individual that can show everybody in the universe how every angel on the John Adams library is actually an angle of the one God that Masons worship as Metatron Trismegistus. Because I alone have the power to see how every messenger of Mercury that Masons are using to make money on the John Adams building holding their matrix together is actually an aspect of one space's solo singular soul, it is now my responsibility to show everybody in the universe how every messenger of Mercury uses Callaway's cosmic caduceus, the cosmic chi conductor of chase of space, to stay connected with the infinitely individual God that Masons teach us to call Metatron. So welcome to the C3B, where every spiritual connection that I share with the universe is already a relatable truth, is already a physical fact that the Masons who run the Matrix have been weaponizing to make money selling their religious lies for over 2,000 years now. Okay, so do know, simple fact here, Jesus represents the Masons' idea of using all the past lives of Mercury to teach you that you only live once. And now we're all taught to view Jesus as Mercury. So now we believe that we need to use our Mercury to do what Jesus did, which is get killed by the same government that is killing all the in North, South, and Central America. And now we all believe that we need to sacrifice ourselves to the system that sacrifices to go to heaven. And we don't see how we're all Jesus. And the only reason people don't empathize with Jesus is because they don't fast like he does. So because Americans don't want to walk the walk of Jesus, they support killing people who walk the walk of Jesus so they can stay comfortable in the Matrix. Literally. So notice how physically, naturally, over all this time, Mercury's space has been supporting the expression of Masonic spirits. But in no way, shape, or form have Masonic spirits been supporting the expression of Mercury. So this is like how Mercury is a tree and then Masons are the humans. So Mercury, as a tree, already supports himself, and his relationship with God allows him to create an atmosphere where he supports others. Masons, they chop the tree down so they can use the truth of the tree to then sell the lies of the Bible or sell the lies of fake news and their newspapers. So we can see right there in nature, Mercury uses trees to support humans, to support Masonic humans, but Masons use humans to chop down trees, to chop down Mercury. Literally. So everyone in the universe, everyone on Earth, at the very least, can see that this is literally the relationship between white people and black people, between white culture and black culture. Black culture functions like Mercury, like trees, supporting themselves, being happy alone. White culture functions like Masons, using humans to chop down the trees so they can spread their misery. And now, no matter how much they consume, they always hate to be with themselves because that's what it means to be miserable. It doesn't matter how amazing the world that you're in is. If you're miserable internally, you're going to bring misery into the world that was beautiful before you landed there. So that's literally the Europeans coming into Native America and calling America land of the free. The Europeans saw all the indigenous peoples here were happy alone, already supported by trees. And because Europeans worship a jealous God, they feel like they're justified using the KKK and the banking system to do whatever it takes to steal everything they can from me, my ancestors, and everyone who looks like me. So we can see historically that the whole point of black people is that black people support the expression of white people. Black space supports the expression of white spirituality. But notice how white spirituality does not in any way, shape, or form support the expression of black spirituality, of black people's spaces. This is why white people, they always need support from black people, but they never once in their entire lives want to give support to black people. This is historically because black people already support themselves, and white people need to steal everything from us so they can lie to us about our own history. And once they steal everything from us to lie to us about our own history, now they teach us that as black people, our job is to support their idea of God. Slavery. And this is how white people use all the past lives of Metatron to put people of color in a state of fear. And now people of color think they need to worship the concept of Jesus getting killed by the government that's lying to us. And they don't see how they, as Jesus, are setting themselves up to also get killed by the same government that killed Jesus. And this is all one satanic system that supports Santa. Literally, it supports Christmas. So we can see that Masons create white cultures so they can consume all the cultures that Mercury created. And this is where Mercury created black cultures. Now, no culture that Mercury has created ever calls itself black. But the whole point is that Masons, because they want to appear right, they're going to steal everything from the cultures that they want to bring lack to. So that's why you're going to see Quetzalcoatl, Itzamna, Hermes, Thoth, Brahma, Cadmus, Agma, Odin, Sequoia, Kanji, Tamarath. You're going to see all these aspects of Metatron on the John Adams library. But the same Christians who worship the idea of all of us being owned by one God would look at that library and say those are all fake gods, even though the system that they worship is actively telling them the basic fundamental history of Masonic language is coming from all the past gods that they're calling fake. So Christians are using all the gods of Metatron space to say that the only real God is the new God that can't even exist or be seen without stealing everything from the old fake gods. So Christian contradiction. But this is how Christian contradictions are causing climate change, because these individuals, the people who run the world, are weaponizing all the past lives of Metatron to teach us that we only live once. We don't know how to think about our environment in a harmonious way. Everyone is in this egoic state of feeling like YOLO, they need to do what it takes to live their life now. And this is where you get the cutthroat world of business, and you get everyone worshiping jealousy. And now people feel like it's healthy to be jealous because that's how capitalism thrives. Christmas, again. Capitalism would not make Christmas so big if people were not worshiping a jealous God. So this is a vibe that humans are trapped in because of the Holy Bible. So it is important for everybody in the universe to know that the Atlantean cultures, the Mercurian cultures of Quetzalcoatl, of Kukulkan, actually built pyramids and advanced civilizations tens of thousands of years in the Americas before the racist religions that want us to worship one God invaded with their idea of what it means to be in heaven. So Kukulkan, we can objectively see, built Atlantean America before the Masons that are using racist religions to erase indigenous history wanted to consume everything from Kukulkan by creating the Ku Klux Klan. And now we can see objectively that the Ku Klux Klan has colonized everything from Kukulkan just so that they can build this great American system out of sacrificing our children, stealing our land, consuming our resources, enslaving our families, and lying to our souls about the true nature of our spirits. So this is real news. Literally, this is real news, okay? God is forcing me to create this for myself because there's infinite fake news outside of my space, and I'm forced to create real news so that we can know the truth about how reality functions. As an indigenous spirit, as an indigenous individual space, I've been taught to worship the concept of one true God controlling me as real news for my entire life. And it took me fasting a lot. I fasted so much to raise my vibration out of that system, so now God can tell me the actual truth behind why the system that wants to be called God had to cannibalize and steal everything from the past lives of Metatron to teach all of us that we only live once. It is only because I have spent so many years fasting to walk the walk of Jesus alone, despite how hard the Matrix has worked like crabs in a bucket to pull my vibration down and keep me trapped in the system. It is only because I have fasted so much to actually walk the walk of Jesus alone, despite how much the Matrix has been trying to kill me and silence me and suppress me, that now I can tell you the real news, the true tree truths, the true tree truths, the real news, relatable news. This is real news. All of your past lives are connected by your soul. And if you fast to go connect with God like I have, God will teach you about how all of your past lives are connected by one soul. But this is God sending me as a psychopomp to let you know this is possible. So as a psychedelic psychopomp, I can simply provide the signs, symbols, and sigils that will point you in the right direction. That's why I have Always Ascending Academy. That's why you can learn how to fast with me in my courses. You can learn how to master your Merkaba. You can get the skeletal solution. You can heal your body in many ways, but only if you take responsibility for your power. If you don't take responsibility for your power, then you'll never take the actions that will allow you to experience your idea of God. And if you don't take responsibility for your power, you'll actually never take the actions that allow you as an infinite individual to bring heaven to earth, just like the Masons have. So fasting for many years has shown me that my relationship with God is way more infinitely individual to my space than any man outside of myself can imagine, than any Mason outside of myself can imagine, than any pastor, rabbi, preacher, scientist, therapist, physician, than any authority, than any adult in an authority position can imagine. My relationship with God is way more infinitely individual than that. So now I'm forced to take responsibility for the power that I alone have. No man or religion in physical reality can use any form of light to actually capture my real relationship with God. My real relationship with God is bigger and way more infinite than any form of light imaginable. So although I, as Chase in this body, not as a space, my space and my soul, no, but based on my programming, I, as Chase, am scared of the FBI. I, as Chase, am scared of the CIA. I'm scared of the KKK. I'm scared of these racist religions using a jealous God to erase indigenous cultures. I'm scared of the colonizers who violently consume Native Americans so they can replace us and lie to us about our own history. I'm scared of all the white people who call me black because they want me to see them as right and they want me to forever be lack. I'm scared of the banking system that has used racist religions to make money raping and erasing billions of Native Americans. And I must say, I'm scared of the Masons who use all their money to poison our environment, manipulate our emotions, and control how our consciousness can communicate with God directly. But this is basically God forcing me to go through the ultimate test, where I'm forced to see how these Masons have only been able to make money because they stole the many past lives of Metatron's Mercury to teach all of us that we only live once. And they've trapped our vibration in a state of being a victim of the Matrix. And now, because people don't fast, they don't know how to feel like they're winning with God, no matter how fucked up physical reality is. So now I'm in a conundrum. Do I use my spiritual power to support the God that has taught me the actual truths of Atlantean America? Or do I support the Masons that are weaponizing all the truths they stole from Atlantean America to teach me that I only live once, and thus, because I only live once, I need to serve their jealous God that is using the past lives of Metatron to teach me that I only live once? So I'm in a conundrum. What do I do? Do I invest in expanding upon my knowledge? Or do I sacrifice my soul to the system that kids so that they can trap us in the Matrix? Perhaps you can see the pickle that I'm in. I literally really only have two choices in this life. I can either go the spiritual route and use my power to take responsibility for my idea of God, or I can go the physical route and I can take responsibility for everyone else's idea of God. So spiritually, I either take responsibility for my idea of God, or physically, I take responsibility for other men's idea of God. All these men in physical reality have their idea of God, and they can teach me as Spider-Man, I'm responsible to hold their system together. Or I could go the spiritual route, believe in my personal relationship with God, and actually expand the universe in a way that no one would have ever imagined for me. Basically, should my spirit take responsibility for my ego, or should my spirit take responsibility for your ego and everyone else's egos? I've been taught that I need to take responsibility for everyone else's egos. That's why I've been taught that I'm a black slave to the system that stole everything from Metatron. Now, what I've learned from God is that I'm actually only responsible for my own ego. So now, if you're not aware of how my ego sees the universe, it's my responsibility to create the connections that allow you to see what my ego sees. And this is literally fire, water, air, and then earth. So I'm just talking about the natural way that all of us as the avatar use our elements to create the energy that allows us to experience what matters to us, literally. So let me ask you, just organically, which one do you think would be healthier for me? Do you think it's healthier for me to take responsibility for myself? Or is it healthier for me to take responsibility for others? These are the questions that God needs me to ask and answer for myself. Am I responsible for my own actions? Or am I responsible for the actions of all the racist religions that use evil white supremacist lies to steal my land and lie to me about my own history so that they can enslave me in a matrix that's destroying the environment? Whose actions am I responsible for? Am I responsible for my own actions, or am I responsible for everyone else's actions? According to the racist religions that infinitely profit off of American slavery, El-Kana created me as the black sinner to serve and be responsible for all the actions that white people take. So I, as a black person, have been taught by jealous Jehovah that I am responsible for all the actions that make white people great. So literally, according to the banks that run every country in North, South, and Central America, my black body is responsible for supporting all the desires that white men have for me. And this is what they call God. White culture has very objectively stolen the last 25 years of my life by weaponizing all the past lives of Metatron to build a system that teaches me I need to serve El-Kana, I need to serve jealous Jehovah because I only live once. Literally. White people have taught me as a black man that my only purpose in existence is to serve the jealous God that already used genocide to steal everything from my ancestors. And that's why they teach me that God justifies genocide based on how God sacrificed a child. So I can see that the people who killed because they worship the concept of a child dying so they can't do any wrong. And that's objectively all forms of American slavery. So if you like the concept of receiving real news from the infinitely individual indigenous spirits that built Atlantean America many millennia before mean Masons used their racist religions to steal all of our resources, then subscribe to the C3 broadcast. God has shown me that, yes, I may be way deeper in poverty than poor Peter Parker. But my mental currency is infinitely more valuable than any physical number that men would want to use to control where I direct my energy. God has shown me that there's actually no number that can truly capture the value that my mind gives to other minds, the value that my space shares with other spaces. Money is an insult to think that you could actually value something that is priceless with money. You just have to value it with your own idea of what is priceless. But you can't put a price on something that's priceless. And the wisdom of how Mercury holds every universe in Metatron's metaverse together is priceless. It is infinitely larger than any number that someone could make up in their imagination, because the moment you imagine how valuable this wisdom is, you have limited the wisdom and you have limited your relationship with how true symmetry actually is. And let's bring this to the history of America. This is objectively why the banking system could not buy land from Native Americans. None of the Native Americans cared about money. We already had our trees. We have all of our water. We have all of our resources. We have all of our own home. We have all of our own material. So no, it doesn't matter how much money you claim you're going to give us. Your money means nothing here. So that's why the European banking system, this is why the Christians had to put on the KKK costumes and kill the billions of indigenous that they're sacrificing to their government, because indigenous cultures did not want to sell their land. We don't care about money. But now, because Masons use their jealous God to billions of people across these continents, now they use money to manipulate how we feel about land. They use money to manipulate how we feel about value. Now they get to use money to manipulate how we feel about our time and how we direct where our attention goes, where our energy flows, where our material grows. This is how Masons use money to transform physical reality. And it's all based on them weaponizing all the past lives of Metatron to teach all of us that we only live once. Because again, when they put us in that state of fear, they can use money to make us go anywhere they want. That's the New World Order. And that's the point of people worshiping slavery. So this is why Masons know that Metatron's space is infinitely more powerful than Odin's structure, than Hermes' structure, than Tahuti's structure, than Cadmus's structure, than Agma's structure, than any of the structures that they've immortalized as the gods of Mercury. Because Masons know that Metatron is infinitely way too powerful to actually be confined to one form. And this is Metatron teaching all of us as spirits that all of our spaces are way more powerful than the bodies that we're using to dress up in costumes right now. We are all infinitely more powerful than the vessels that we're using to contain our souls. And the whole point is your soul and my soul would not be able to relate with one another if we were alone in our own spaces. So we have to be vulnerable. And that's why we're all here as humans. So we're all behaving by the same rules so that we can actually vulnerably relate with one another. And now we can feel connected because we've actually created a grounded reality where we're all behaving by the same rules. And that's where we actually get the idea of fairness and balance. This is Tahuti talking about what it means to be with Ma'at. So it's all about actually having judgment over how you build your body and being able to use your ability to communicate to judge how you want to bring heaven to earth. So when you see Ma'at as Libra being related to judgment, fairness, and balance, that's Mercury, that's Metatron using Tahuti to show everyone how we use our ability to provide judgment to bring heaven to earth. And now that's everyone all the time. That's literally why your home looks different than someone else's home. Everyone has their own idea of bringing heaven to earth. That's everyone's Ma'at. And because everyone has their own Ma'at, everyone has their own idea of how they can manipulate the material that makes God matter. Literally. So that's Libra, that's 9, that's your judgment power. Again, this is something that no one in physical reality would have ever taught me. I had to learn this by going back to my space and reconnecting with my own spirit, with my own God. So explicitly, the reason why Masons make all of their money manipulating reality, weaponizing the many past lives of Mercury to teach us that we only live once, is because the objectively worship Metatron as the metal of God. That's Metatron, Metaltron. Metatron is the metal of God. And this is why Metatron builds the matrix out of metal, so that God can support spirits who do not support him. So it's really funny from everything that I've learned from fasting, because Masons worship Metatron as the metal of God because they know that if they look him straight in his face, they will die. And this is actually because of everything I just shared, that Metatron's space is way too infinitely brilliant to actually be seen by anyone without dying. And this is why Metatron has to put on a costume, this physical form, so that he can relate with spirits that would not have ever been able to relate with him. And this is literally why Metatron, as the metal of God, actually brought the idea of melting your face off into existence. Literally, the Masons got the idea of melting faces from them thinking about what would happen if they ever actually looked at the spirit who created Hermes, if they ever actually looked at the spirit who created Thoth, the spirit who created Odin, the spirit who created every messenger of Mercury. So this is literally the concept, like I'm saying, of spiritual reality being individual and physical reality is collective. So Metatron, as an infinite individual, he will kill anyone who tries to relate with his spiritual reality. So the only way Metatron can relate with anyone is if he kills himself, he kills his own ego, and he wears a costume that does not look like how people think about Metatron. And then this is how Metatron can use Odin or Hermes or Tahuti or any costume, any body that he's using his soul to build. He can use that body to relate with physical realities that would not be able to relate with him. Because everyone else in physical reality, they're trapped in physical reality. They can't actually get to Metatron's space. They would have to die to get to Metatron's space. And once they get to Metatron's space, they would die again because they're not welcome in that circumstance. Literally, this is why Facebook has rebranded itself to the metaverse, so they can make more money using metal to manipulate all of our minds. Literally. And that's how they make money, using metal to manipulate physical reality. And now physical reality is everything that we see on the metaverse, everything that we scroll through our phones. We're not really in physical reality as much as we are on metal. So notice how your phone is metal, and your phone as metal manipulates how you view physical reality, so the Masons who own the metaverse can make infinite money off of your emotions. And this is how they direct our currency wherever they want. I'm just saying facts. So Masons actually stole the entire energy of what it means to be metal from the fact that Metatron is too infinitely individual of a space to fit in one form. Metatron is way too powerful. Metatron's mind is way too expansive to fit in one brain. This is literally why we get Brahma. The Brahma brain is too big to fit in just Brahma. So now we have the Trimurti. Now we have Brahma as Metatron having to express his mentality through the brains of Shiva and Vishnu. And then you get them combining and becoming Dattatreya. And overall, that's the Trimurti doing what it has to do to support spirits who don't support it. So that's all Mercury, and that's where we get the whole Hindu pantheon, where we have the many different avatars. See, so this is what it means to be the avatar. So that's why you can see that Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva are all avatars of one space. And now when you go look at the John Adams library and you see that Brahma and Thoth and Hermes and Quetzalcoatl are all in that building, now we can see that those are all aspects of Metatron. Jews use the Merkaba to express their religion because they got the Merkaba from Metatron and they know what the Merkaba means. It means exactly what I'm saying right here. The Merkaba shows you that your mind is bigger than your brain. So took the Merkaba from Metatron because they know that Metatron's mind is infinitely way too expansive to fit in just one brain. The Masons who own Marvel, have turned Metatron into Spider-Man. The know that Metatron's mind is infinitely way too individual to be seen by anyone. If any spirit in the metaverse actually tried to look straight at Metatron, they would physically die because they would be transformed by the intensity of his light, the intensity of his thoughts, the intensity of his feelings, his emotions, his vibration, all of his elements. So the created Spider-Man as an allegory, as a way to monopolize off of the fact of how Metatron uses the body like a costume so he can relate with normal humans in the metaverse. So this is why Metatron, as God's Spider-Man, knows that he needs to use his soul to create connections that no one else would have created, because by doing this is how he builds a costume that allows him to wear his air. And now he can share his thoughts with spirits that don't think the same way as him. And this is the whole point of Metatron knowing that he builds a body to actually retard his mind, aka hold his mind back. Because by using his body to hold his mind back, now he can relate with individuals that don't think on the same frequency as him. Literally. So this is how Metatron creates structures that allow his soul to relate with souls outside of his space. So when you see that the Jews depict Spider-Man as a superhero who must constantly hold back his power so he doesn't kill his enemies, this is explicitly the Masons talking about how Metatron has to hold back his power so he can relate with individuals that are not able to relate with him. Poor Peter Parker holds his true personal power back. He retards his super abilities so that he can relate with humans in a way that would not have been possible if he was just straight up expressing his consciousness to the utmost ability. And it's important to know that the stole that concept of Spider-Man from Metatron being Quetzalcoatl, and Metatron using Quetzalcoatl to create bodies that retard his spiritual powers, because Quetzalcoatl wants to use the body as a costume so he can support spirits that do not support him. And that's why Quetzalcoatl would create bodies that retards his mind so that he can limit his intelligence to where people are comfortable. And that's really what it's about, limiting one's intelligence so you can keep the environment you're in comfortable. You don't transform it too hard with your individuality. You know how to retard yourself so you can meet souls where they're at. So Quetzalcoatl would use the body as a costume so he can relate with humans in a grounded and practical way. And this is where the Masons stole the idea of Spider-Man holding the entire metaverse together, because they know that Quetzalcoatl is Tahuti and Hermes as one space, combining their elements to expand upon their Spider-Man powers, their ability to create connections that no one else would really be able to create. So objectively, the Masons who run Marvel have been using Spider-Man to show how they weaponize Metatron's energy to make money for themselves. Objectively, the Masons have been using Spider-Man to make infinite money, showing the world their Jewish interpretation behind how Metatron uses Woden's worldwide webs to make sure that Mercury's caduceus can hold every soul together. Not just in this universe, but the entire Atlantean metaverse. This is literally why we have the concept of the Spider-Verse. That's literally them stealing everything I'm sharing right now and turning it into the metaverse. And now no one knows how Spider-Man and Metatron are connected, but they do know about Marvel having the Spider-Verse that holds the metaverse together. Great power comes great responsibility. So if you would like to learn how your physical spine, and thus your spiritual caduceus, is proof that you are both a child of and messenger of God already, then feel free to join our online courses at Always a Saying Academy in chaseyourgenes.com to learn the true Hermetic history behind your human health, behind all of our human health. Feel free to read through the whole website as much as you want. I have created everything that I'm creating at the expense of myself to support your freedom, to support your ability to communicate with God in a way that no one else can limit. And then this is where you will be able to develop true empathy for all the souls that you want to build whatever kind of life you want to build with. But that's the whole point here. Empathy. Literally. So, much love. Stay awesome. And remember to use your power responsibly when you are creating the connections that support your infinitely individual relationship with your spiritual God. Peace out. See you later.